Jose Rios on the right. Abzan Company, we're calling it, versus Bant Soul Herder. Shards of Alara versus Khans of Tarkir. 3-color names.
All right. See if Whitehouse can put up another great performance this weekend and put himself back on the leaderboard.
Turn 1 Verdant Catacombs for Rios. No action there. Whitehouse will start with a Prismatic Vista. Immediately fetching to 19. Finds a snow-covered forest. Going to be snow-covered lands in this deck for those Ice Fang Codals.
99% here to be a Noble Hierarch. Very few reasons to fetch the forest otherwise. Noble Hierarch does a lot of work in this deck, accelerating you into those really powerful 3-drops like the Soul Herder, but you know, don't want to be too reliant on the mana creatures. That's why we're playing things like Ice Fang Quaddle, the kind of cycle, Wall Blossoms. These kind of replace themselves while playing a bit of defense, which is nice.
There is the Hierarch for Whitehouse. End step, Rios is going to crack that Verdant Catacombs, finds a Temple Garden tapped, both players at 19. Now there was no 1-drop for Rios. Let's see if he can have a Devoted Druid on turn 2, or at least some kind of action.
Yeah, you don't need a whole lot of 1-mana plays when you go turn 2, Devoted Druid, turn 3, Infinite Mana Kill You.
Rios quickly fetching to 18 on turn number 2. I believe I have spotted the Devoted Druid in hand.
Yeah, I believe I saw it too. Now Whitehouse is going to need one of just a few answers here, or he could be shuffling a lot more than he's playing Magic this round.
That is something that we do see time and again in the modern format.
Yeah, but the games that are good are really good. You know, when you get 2 decks that are kind of evenly matched and you have a lot of back and forth, even if it's a combo deck versus, say, a control deck, pretty often, you know, you'll have a really good game with a bit of disruption and, you know, a lot of sweating.
All right, so there's turn 2 Devoted Druid. We'll go back to Whitehouse. He's going to start with Coiling Oracle, finds an Ice Fang Codal, shocks for a Breeding Pool to 17, and a second Noble Hierarch.
We got a reader.
Quick read on Coiling Oracle. This one doesn't see a ton of play. Blue-green, 1/1. I believe a Snake Elf Druid.
That is correct. For those of you who have not drafted RGD, the original Ravnica block, 1,000 times, it was a staple.
Here's a shock for Rios, and there's
mana.
the Vizier of Remedies, infinite
weird.
mana. Now this is interesting. Court of Calling. This is a check for Force of Negation because this is an instant on Rios' turn. And Whitehouse has it.
Ooh.
So Rios is going to need another payoff now.
Okay, well, looks like he has a bunch of white cards in hand, but he does have 1 white mana up. So I'm curious to see what he does here.
I believe he has that Ranger Captain, or Knight Captain of Eos. What is it called? It's one of those. Ranger Captain of Eos, which can find Walking Ballista, but he needs double white to do it.
All right, so he can't quite do it this turn, so he gives Whitehouse a turn to find some way to break this up. But he's got a handful of cards. You know, Kitchen Finks here is a fine one, I suppose. Gain some life. Can't actually die, you know, with the Vizier of Remedies on the battlefield, which is nice.
So Kitchen Finks, Giver of Runes. He'll pass on the next turn with that Ranger Captain. He's threatening to find Walking Ballista and actually end the game. And you can't force a negation through either of those spells. They're both creatures. Whitehouse's deck's going to be light on ways to break this up, but there are 2 Path to Exiles, 2 Jace the Mind Sculptor. That's the kind of thing he's looking for here. I guess 1 Reflector Mage as well.
Yeah, the Reflector Mage and the 2 Vincers, all those can target Devoted Druid, and then it has Summoning Sickness again, so it gives you a little bit more time. And then maybe you combine that with some sort of blink effect, and then you buy yourself even more time. The problem is that Whitehouse's deck doesn't actually win the game very quickly. Has a lot of value piece interaction, but not a ton of ways to actually close.
Gotta figure if there was some way to disrupt the combo, you'd see Whitehouse moving a little bit faster here.
This is going to be basically his only time to do it.
So it's Eternal Witness picking up Force of Negation, which would protect him against a top deck Court of Calling, but we know Rios has this locked up if he just casts the Ranger Captain.
Yeah, so he makes infinite green mana. 2 white here from his other lands. Ranger Captain's going to go get Walking Ballista. Force of Negation is not Force of Will. And this should do it for game 1 here between Jose Rios and Evan Whitehouse.
So you see Rios picking up his deck, finds that Walking Ballista, puts that one in the hand. And yep, Whitehouse has seen enough. There's infinite mana in that pool. Walking Ballista pretty easily cleans up from here.
Yeah, it's always been interesting to me when cards that saw a lot of play in Standard because they were colorless or artifacts or what have you end up being like these weird combo pieces once you get into Modern and Legacy, because they're not exactly efficient. Walking Ballista, even Hangerback Walker, they saw a ton of play when they were in Standard, but neither. I didn't really expect either to see a whole lot of play in Modern, but it's interesting to see Devoted Druid being able to utilize it there.
Yeah, Walking Ballista was a card that really surprised me with how powerful it actually ended up being. But it's just Triskelion with a ton of different upside, right?
For sure.
But if you like what you're seeing this weekend, it is a whole new Modern format. Stoneforge Mystic unbanned, Faithless Looting banned, which frees up a lot of space as well. Maybe build a new Modern deck, try out your old brew, see how it plays in the new format at a Star City Games game night. Every week in September, you can pick up the new Chasing Your Trail token.
I was really hoping it was just called Wolf. Just a break from that not monotony, but like the always naming them kind of funny puns or whatever.
Expectation subversion.
Yes. Here is Wolf. Get your Wolf.
Tokens and sleeves available. Check that out at go.starcitygames.com/game night. I like this one. It's pretty clever.
Yeah, I always like the creature collection. People seem to really like the cats, and they seem to really like the penguins. But sometimes they like the dogs, but not nearly as much as the cats for some reason.
Well, in fairness, I think that the worst creature collection selection of all time was a dog.
If you say slobber mile driver, I'll slobber mile drive you into the next town.
All right, now I got to improvise a different dog.
There was a... that's rough.
Geist of St. Bernard.
That would have been great.
I would have loved that. Can we do that?
Yeah,
Let's
can we get
cue that one up? That one's on the house.
Let's have a picture of like Beethoven on top of the picture of Geist of St. Trap. Where's Dan May when you need him? Dan May is our resident memer.
Yeah, Dan May definitely good at that kind of stuff.
Should have sideboards up for you here on the Cardboard Live extension in just a minute.
Yeah, working on getting that on the screen.
We could just kind of talk about it, right, before we get it on screen.
So I think what might be taking them so long is, I mentioned earlier, Rios' deck list. This is like written in a mechanical pencil and then photocopied poorly.
So it was like photocopied, and then someone was like, hey, can we get a copy of your list? And he's like, sure, let me make 200 more copies of the copies.
The weird thing is...
You ever see Multiplicity?
The lines on the deck, like the actual deck registration sheet, is bold. I just can't read any of the words that he wrote.
It's because it's pencil.
Yeah.
Yeah. But seriously, you didn't answer my question. Have you ever seen Multiplicity?
I have not.
Yeah. Michael Keaton clones himself, and then the clones are start making clones of each other.
Oh, geez.
And they get worse and worse. Yeah.
All right, here's some sideboards.
There it is.
On Evan Whitehouse's side, needs some help to break up this combo. His sideboard, 3 Collector Oofs, 2 Damping Spheres, 2 Scavenging Ooze, 2 Thrag Tusk, 2 more Path to Exile, that'll be 4 in the 75. A Deputy Detention, a Reflector Mage, a Winds of Abandon, and a Night of Autumn.
So luckily for Evan, Sorcery Speed Removal is still pretty good in the matchup. Your Reflector Mages, your Winds of Abandon, even your Deputy Detention are all going to be okay, because a lot of times Jose is going to lead off with a Devoted Druid on the first few turns, and he's going to need a whole turn cycle to get to untap with it so he can make infinite mana. So that means you're going to have a little bit of time with those creatures. So those are pretty good. The Path to Exiles are going to be exactly what you're looking for, an instant speed way to break up the combo so that Jose doesn't just kill you kind of on your end step with a Collect a Company or Court of Calling or something into untap infinite mana kill you. So 2 more Path definitely coming in, the Deputy and the Fractal Mage, and the Winds of Abandon. That's pretty much it.
All right, so for Jose Rios, he seemed pretty favored in the Game 1 scenario. We'll see how he maybe wants to modify post-sideboard. He has 3 Path to Exile, 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Damping Sphere, 2 Collector Roofs, a Gideon Ally of Zendikar, a Tyler's Tracker, a Burnt-in Forge Tender, a Cabal, Consul of Allocation, a Plague Engineer, and a Night of Autumn. So a lot of overlap between these 2 sideboards.
Yeah, for sure. They're both like green-white X, so a lot of those green-white and X decks share a lot of powerful sideboard effects. And a lot of these new ones are also quite good. So I'm not surprised to see like copies of Collector Oof from both sides because it's a really great way to interact with the artifact-based decks. But here, though, Jose is going to be the pure-on combo deck. He's not going to try to transform into like a mid-range deck with Path to Exile and Thoughtseize. He's going to just stick to his guns. He might bring in some more threats to kind of throw Evan Whitehouse for a loop. Maybe the Gideon Olives in the car, maybe the Tireless Tracker, and maybe the Plague Engineer. Just naming something like Human for Noble Hierarch can really slow Whitehouse down. Maybe name Snake and he gets all the Icefang Quaddles and the Coiling Oracles, which is kind of cool, so you don't get that Soul Herder synergy, I guess. But there's not a whole lot that he wants to bring in here.
I am a little bit intrigued by the Thoughtseize. If you expect the only thing you're losing to is disruption on your combo, that one kind of makes sense.
I think Thoughtseize is more for decks that are faster than you. Whenever I'm playing a combo deck, if I have Thoughtseize in my sideboard, it's almost always a nod to my opponent doing something more degenerate than me. And, if you think like, Grishol brand.
Sure, Neoform.
Before the ban of Faithless Looting, Neoform's a good one. You want some amount of interaction so that you actually bring that speedy combo deck down to your speed, and then your consistency usually overmatches them.
Sure, makes sense. Players looking at opening hands. Whitehouse on the play as kept on 7. We see Rios starting with at least one mulligan here. So there's going to be more pressure on Whitehouse's opening hands here. Just a much slower deck.
Right, and I mean, we talked a little bit about it in the previous game. Even if he does solidify some sort of an advantage with the Soul Herders or with all of those really kind of 2-for-1 enter the battlefield effects, his deck doesn't actually win the game fast. He has Force Negation to slow things down, but for the most part, he's okay if games last 10, 20 turns. He's not so okay if games last closer to 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the closing speed here is just very slow.
It's Icewing Quaddle with multiple Noble Hierarchs.
Yeah. Would you say that the Bant Snow deck has a glacial closing speed?
Yikes. Well, Jose is going down to 5 here, it looks like, so he's going to take a gander at a different hand because those first two were pretty bad. Okay, so I actually had a really good comparison for Whitehouse's deck. Evan Whitehouse is making a risotto. Okay? Takes a little while. The flavor's got to develop. I've been watching a lot of MasterChef recently. So you can't make a good risotto. Yeah, I'm saying it like Gordon says it. Risotto.
Yeah. I had assumed that you were channeling your inner Gordon Ramsay there.
You can't rush a good risotto. All right. It's not that funny. You don't have to fake laugh that hard, man. Come on.
Pardon me. I'll just stop doing my... You want to cover this one?
Yeah. All right. So Jose here, going down to 5 cards here. Take a look. And Whitehouse has the same faces around Overturf right now.
We are kindred spirits.
Ambivalent. Off it. Hey, he did bring in the Gideon. Called it. He's got to put a couple back.
Yeah, finally thinking about keeping a hand. I believe it's a 1-lander.
Yeah, but, you're going to go to 4? Maybe.
4's tough.
With this new modern format, 4 might not even be that bad.
So Whitehouse starting off. Misty Rainforest. Going to cast a Noble Hierarch. See if he shocks. He won't. Snow-covered forest. He's at 19.
And the problem with Jose's hand here is, A, it's a 1-lander. B, it didn't look like he had any of the combo pieces. No Devoted Druids, no Vizier of Remedies. He needs a bunch more mana for that Collector Company and that Gideon. And, I don't really know what he's going to be doing in the meantime.
Well, Razorverge Thicket, Giver of Runes is where he will start.
I guess I do know what he's going to do in the meantime. He's going to be twiddling his thumbs, just like he was.
He'll be missing land drops and attacking for 1.
He does have protection here with the Giver of Runes, so he does get to untap with it, so it's going to give him some level of a buffer. But he's still going to need a lot of help. He needs a lot of pieces still. Looks like he did find a land, so he's got that rolled up at least.
So Whitehouse had Snow-Covered Island, just hanging out with 3 mana. You see a shock for a Temple Garden for Rios, goes to 18, and casting Duskwatch Recruiter.
Yeah, this is not a bad one. Can help dig for those other combo pieces. Whitehouse is going to need kind of a specific answer here to really do anything about it.
End step flashes in Icefang Kotal. Draws a card. Ooh, and ephemerates it. So, Ephemerate is a new one from Modern Horizons, mostly played exclusively in this deck. So you target your Quaddle, it's going to be removed from game, brought back to game, draw a card, and then it has rebound. So when you're out next upkeep, you cast it again. So targets the Quaddle, that's going to be exiled, comes back in, draws another card off of that.
Yeah, the rebound on Ephemerate makes it incredibly powerful for just 1 mana. It's very reminiscent of Momentary Blink, and that was one of the better cards in that standard format, mostly in part to those really strong enter the battlefield effects that you're seeing here.
And you see Coiling Oracle for Whitehouse. This one a little bit different than drawing a card. Puts a snow-covered island on the battlefield. And then Misty Rain forces a land for turn. Can't cast with the Coatl because it was just blinked.
Coiling Oracle, though, did give him a bit of a ramp here, so he does have access to 3 mana, so he can hard cast the Force of Negation if he has one.
Looks like back for Jose Rios, cracking Verdant Catacombs. He's found land number 3.
Well, starting out at fun 1 land and finding 2 more, so you can start either activating Dustwatch Recruiter or casting other creatures. It's pretty good. That Giver of Runes could spell Doom for Whitehouse in just a few short turns.
So Rios at 17, finding Basic Forest. It's like a Kitchen Finks in hand, so that's kind of a choice between casting that or just activating Recruiter. Makes an attack.
Yeah, I really like this attack. It's you want to get aggressive because you're low on resources and you don't want to give Whitehouse too much time for his risotto to develop. So getting aggressive here, it's going to take a little while of activating Dustwatch Recruiter in order to find your overall combo. So I like the attack. You can protect it with the Giver if you really need to, if there's a double block. And you follow it up with the Kitchen Finks.
Combination of a no block on the Recruiter and a Kitchen Finks reverse the life totals. Now Whitehouse fetching down to 16. Finds a Temple Garden tapped. He already has his 3 snow permanents, so he's good to give his Coatls Death Touch. Rios still missing those combo pieces, but Whitehouse a ways off of winning.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to attack for 2 in the air here, right? But, like, Jose's at 19 going to 17, and this is not a great clock.
Tapped Breeding Pool will be the land for Whitehouse. And he'll pass.
I feel like his hand is just very reactive here.
So no spells cast. So we're looking at the Duskwatch Recruiter transforming. Rios will let that happen. No activation before that resolves. So now his creature spells cost 1 less.
Yeah, I think he's deployed most of them. It looks like his hand at a Gideon and Collect Company, if I'm not mistaken. But I think he also drew the 4th land for the turn. So let's see if he has that and if Whitehouse has the Force of Negation.
So the Kitchen Finks and the... what's the backside of Recruiter? Is that Crowlin Horde Howler or is that a different card?
Kraken Horde Howler, I believe.
All right. So I think 6 came across, and then Tireless Tracker shows up for Rios, and Windswept Heath. So he plays that, gets his first clue.
Yeah, and it costs 1 less, so he can actually crack the Windswept Heath, go get another clue, and crack one of the clues this turn, or in this turn cycle if he so chooses.
You see the new Sam Black clue token showing up. And he'll pass with the fetch land up. You don't want to get pathed in response to activating your fetch land. It'll go back over to Whitehouse. No end step action.
And with the Giver of Runes up, there's really no reason to rush it, right? If you crack it and he goes path, you protect it with Giver of Runes. Now you kind of force him to have double path on his own turn. And he only has access to 2 white mana with the Noble and the Temple Garden.
Whitehouse looking at some sorcery speed action. Start with the snow-covered forest. Just going to use his basics to cast it, leave up those dual lands. And it's going to be Eternal Witness. There's Ephemerate as the spell in the graveyard. He'll pick that up. It's a nice little combo with Eternal Witness. So on the first time you cast it, it goes into exile, so you just blink one of your draw effects, maybe Coiling Oracle in case you see a land.
Right.
Then you get the Ephemerate back on the rebound, target the Eternal Witness, get the Ephemerate back, just go off over the course of 30 or so turns.
Yeah, it's pretty gross, but it is also pretty slow.
Rios end step's going to crack that Windswept Heath, and there's no path to exile, so he'll go find a land, get another clue token. I assume whatever he finds here will be untapped and draw a card off of the first clue.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Probably looking for a plains, so he gives himself even green and white, but doesn't matter too much. Mostly you just don't want to take shock damage here, I think.
Well, he'll find Godless Shrine.
Oh, he might need the black mana. No, that's probably fair. The life total might not end up mattering that much. Evan Whitehouse just kind of stopped attacking that turn. You know, previous turn he did attack with the Ice Fang. This turn chose to hold it back, I guess, because it has Death Touch, and there's enough 3-power creatures coming across that Jose is very close to threatening lethal. And Whitehouse's creatures are all green, so at some point Giver of Runes could just give one of those creatures pro-green and make it unblockable.
Definitely. So you saw Rios went to 14. Off of that shock, cracked the clue, the Tireless Tracker up to a 4-3. Still has that Gideon ally of Zendikar hanging out in hand as well.
It's a bit lackluster in this spot just because Whitehouse has multiple copies of Force of Negation in hand. Jose would much rather be spending his time casting creature spells, I believe.
You see an attack with his creatures, the Kralin Horde Howler, the Kitchen Finks, and the Tireless Tracker all coming across. Whitehouse does have that Ephemerate, so he can use that to get some value out of one of these blockers.
Yeah, he's going to force Jose to protect the Tireless Tracker, and then Whitehouse is going to use the Ephemerate, target the Coatl. Then on his upkeep, the rebound is going to target Witness, get it back, and it's going to be pretty hard for Jose to get a lot of damage through here. I would expect him at some point to just start main phasing the Giver of Runes on one of his creatures to attack in for larger chunks with that Tireless Tracker.
So the Kitchen Finks want unblocked, and then you see the Coatl getting hit by Ephemerate. So there should be 3 points coming across. Whitehouse to 7, and the Coiling Oracle down. Whitehouse drawing a card off of that blink. Believe Rios has a Collected Company in hand, so you can just wait on that on Whitehouse's turn, and you see him pass here. And Ephemerate comes off a rebound, targets Eternal Witness. Witness blinks, gets the Ephemerate back. Not exactly a loop, but pretty good value.
Yeah, I mean, each turn cycle you just get an absurd amount of kind of recursive value.
So you can see Collected Company from Rios in response to that Ephemerate, and Whitehouse is just going to hard cast Force of Negation on that. That'll exile the company. So now we should be seeing the Ephemerate come back.
Yeah, that actually is a little awkward for Jose, because now instead of getting the Ephemerate back, he could choose to get back the Force of Negation, but I believe he still has one in hand, so. He still needs to find a way to actually deal with the Giver of Runes, though.
See, possibly some kind of question with Ephemerate happening here. A judge is picking up the card.
I think he's just making sure that the Eternal Witness can see the Ephemerate when it gets targeted by it.
Sure.
Because technically the trigger goes on the stack, you know, at a weird time in the middle of the resolution of the spell, but you choose targets once the spell is resolved. So it does get to see it in the graveyard and bring it back. Right.
But, you know, good on the judge staff for making sure everything is on the up and up here.
Whitehouse trying to figure out a way out here.
Apologies, we're having some issue with our display. Whitehouse is shocking for Hallowed Fountain. He was at 7, goes to 5 off of that.
Yeah, should be at 5. See if he can get this Giver of Runes off the battlefield. Another Eternal Witness, going to get back Coiling Oracle. That's not really it, Chief.
And passes without casting the Oracle, wants to leave up that Ephemerate mana.
If I'm not mistaken here, Jose can just give Tireless Tracker protection from green, Crack a clue, draw a card, and attack for 5. And that'll be the end of Whitehouse unless he has one of his Path to Exiles.
All right, so he'll start by playing a Plains, gets another clue token. And we'll see if he shoves on that line that you mentioned.
There's very little reason not to. He knows Whitehouse had a Coiling Oracle that he didn't cast, which to me kind of signifies either Path to Exile or another Force Negation.
There is the known Ephemerate as well.
Sure, sure.
He's thumbing that Giver of Runes. He will activate target Tireless Tracker. Presumably names green. Here's an attack for 4. Going to be 5 off of that clue token.
Now, even if Whitehouse doesn't have the path here, he can go Ephemerate on the Coatl and draw a card. Has another look at it.
Yeah, that's Ephemerate. Just going to try to draw here. Draws a card. All right, you see Rios crack the clue token. Is this lethal? It is. Jose Rios, 2-0 over Evan Whitehouse.
You don't see the Abzan Company decks win games like that anymore. You just don't see too much of it. But Giver of Runes, they're really showing off. Not only as a protection spell, but a way to make those large Tireless Trackers and Kitchen Finks and things unblockable. And Whitehouse just couldn't get the job done.
Yeah. There's definitely matchups where you're going to see the Kitchen Finks matter more than others. It was kind of interesting, I think, from my perspective, to see Gideon coming in against such a value-centric deck.
Well, he probably doesn't know the Whitehouse has 4 copies of Force